Hey everybody, Untitled Chapter here with another video from Daisy Sorcerers Arena. So today, I'm going to talk real quick about setting your defenses for Sorcerers Tournament. So, actually this also goes for Club Conquest as far as specific teams. So, this is an interaction that is really important for you to understand when you're setting your teams, because this will help you to understand both how to defeat teams that seem like they're undefeatable when you're starting a battle. That power does make a difference, but not nearly as much as a lot of other things that you can be using. You can actually get around a lot of very strong teams by understanding bots. So this only goes for fighting bots. So if you're fighting in Sorcerers Tournament or you're fighting in Club Conquest, you're up against bots almost all the time. Now that there's a lot of launch players that have been in the game and kind of have equalized the stretch of matchmaking that you're going to be up against. You're probably not going to be against bots in PvP. But Sorcerer's Tournament, obviously, in Club Conquest, you're going to be up against bots. So when you're setting your teams for defense, and when you're fighting bots, you should understand that every single time you're up against anybody, the AI is always choosing whatever ability is on the farthest right. So when you're in the battle, you're going to see each one kind of lined up, all the abilities, and they'll go from top to bottom here in the character screen, and they'll be left to right when you're in the battle. And the AI will always choose to activate every single spell if it's available, and it'll always choose whatever ability is on the far right, and as far as I can tell, on random opponents. There might be something in there that kind of prioritizes or puts more weight on a random choice on characters that have less health. But I haven't necessarily found that to necessarily be true, because I've been doing Sorcerer Tournament climbs, and I've even been up against teams where I had a character that was almost dead, and they still chose a character at almost full health to attack, even though I didn't have a taunt or anything on. So what you need to do is you need to plan around that fact when you're both building your team and when you're fighting. This, for instance, makes Dash very, very bad on defense, because on the AI just sees this as a far right, but this does 1400 damage, which is good. Like where I'm at level 40 at level 3 with no gear on him at tier 5, so no extra offense or anything. You're only doing 1400 damage then that's up to 1400 damage. That's the max you can do. But if you have even just 5 stacks of charged, you're going to be doing 6000 damage spread throughout all the multiple characters. But the AI just knows, oh, this is the far right ability, I'm just going to use this first. So Dash almost always goes first. His speed is very high, so even at T5, he has 122 speed, which makes him the fastest character that I have by a mile. Shan Yu, I think, he's 107, yeah. So with my 8% speed bonus, I think that gets him up to 116. And so he's at 116 speed, so he's still below Dash right now. And that continues as you obviously get further on. The Dash is the fastest character in the game, which makes sense. But his first turn will always be the dash as a bot, and that will always result in just one attack. And then it takes him forever to build up charge. So if you're fighting a dash team, just remove all the charge from dash. If you can get him, you can even possibly kill him. Take out dash on the other team before he even gets another turn out, because on his second turn he would use heads up, which would get him up to 10 charged if he dealt 5 critical hits. From what I found, I tend to get between 5 and 7 most of the time. I've gotten 8 once, and I've never gotten 9 or 10. So you can prevent him from getting any charged, because you can just take him out right away, because you know he's just going to waste his first turn. Other characters that tend to have really bad interactions is that characters that you want that do specific debuffs. So Jack Sparrow and Mordu, from what a lot of people that have been testing have seen, that Mordu and Jack Sparrow tend to both charm and stun the same character, which is useless because then you're not taking advantage of the stun or the charm, because you want them to, if they're charmed, you want them to attack, and if they're stunned, you obviously want them to lose their turn, but you don't want the same character to do both those things in the same turn. So this is a bad interaction to have, so don't put both of them on a defense team. Generally speaking, because you also can't control Barley, like even giving buffs to your own team, it's somewhat random. Quests of Yore will always be his first move, but if you're trying to get it, for instance, onto Ian, so on his second turn he can use his Arcane Lightning spell, you're not guaranteed to get that. It might happen some of the time, it might not some of the time. So there's no guarantee, there's no way for you to guarantee to be sure about that. So if you have other options, you might be considering that. Now, that also means that certain characters are going to be fantastic because you want them to be using their turns in a certain order. Sorcerer Mickey is a great example of this one because you want him to inflict his slow right away, and then you want him to be taking out turn meter. Now, you could be changing your strategy generally as you're going throughout a battle and as you're seeing who your opponent is, but the AI will just always do the same kind of thing that every time, and you can kind of work with it and use it to your advantage. So when you're planning your defenses, just keep that in mind, that's kind of how the AI works. It'll always choose the rightmost ability, whatever is there, and it'll always activate whatever spells are available, even if it's not helpful. For instance, Trigger, which everybody has. Trigger sets up as kind of a summon, and as long as the spell is available, it will use it. So even if Trigger is at full health, Trigger will they'll still have a new tower. Even if the bucket is already on the field, they will still summon a new bucket, and even if it has full health, it just knows, oh, spell available, use spell. So, personal opinion, now this has been from like all my testing, when you're attacking, save the summons for last, because they won't be smart enough. Especially the bucket. The bucket can't do anything else other than attack, so always leave the bucket for last. That's the best way to beat the bucket. But other ways, like Trigger is also another one where you can wait out Trigger in case they try to call Trigger again, because you can't have multiple triggers on the field. So I don't want to take too much of your time. Just want to let you guys know that this is how the AI works. This is how it's done every single time I've been testing. And so be careful about your defense. Don't put dash on defense. Try to avoid too many characters that rely on first turn debuffs, because they will probably end up overlapping, and that will probably end up ruining your strategy, or making it much easier for it to be exploited by other teams. So with that, guys, I will see you in the next video.